Welcome back to Notable Deaths USA. Today, in quiet reverence, we remember talented artists who have left us, some only in recent days. From Hollywood icons to rising stars, each brought a bright light to the world of entertainment, until, sadly, they have gone too soon. Before we begin, your support helps keep these stories alive. Please give this video a like. Thank you for being here with us. Now let's begin.
1.
As many of you may have heard, the commanding and quietly soulful Terence Stamp has passed away at the age of 87. His family confirmed that he died on August 17th, asking for privacy during this time of sorrow. Though no cause was shared publicly, his passing marks the end of a career that spanned generations and genres. Terence first captured hearts in 1962 with Billy Budd, earning an Oscar nomination and a Golden Globe for Most Promising Newcomer. He went on to redefine villainy as General Zod in Superman, and later stunned audiences with his poignant portrayal of Bernadette in Priscilla, Queen of the Desert. From brooding dramas to bold character work, he lit up the screen with quiet intensity and unmistakable presence. But his path was never easy. After early fame in the 1960s, he faced years of silence, sidelined by shifting trends. Yet he re-emerged with grace, embracing character roles with humility and depth. He lived with thoughtful purpose, leaving behind not just a filmography, but a philosophy. Thank you for honoring him with your words, your memories, and your love. Your support means more to us than you can possibly imagine during this time of grief and remembrance. Terence's spark will continue to shine in our hearts, and he will live on through the legacy he leaves behind.
2.
As many of you may have heard, the beloved and steadfast Tristan Rogers has passed away at the age of 79. His longtime manager confirmed that he died peacefully on August 15th after a courageous battle with lung cancer. Heartbreakingly, he had never smoked a day in his life. Tristan first captured hearts on General Hospital, where a 2-day guest role in 1980 blossomed into Robert Scorpio, one of daytime television's most iconic characters. Over 4 decades, through tangled romances, spy missions, and fierce loyalties, Scorpio became a fixture in American living rooms and a beloved part of soap opera history. But his path was never easy. Born in Melbourne, Australia, Tristan arrived in Hollywood with no name, little money, and an accent that made casting directors wary. He persisted, taking odd jobs, trusting his instincts, and ultimately creating a role that transcended scripts. He later stepped behind the camera and onto other sets, winning a Daytime Emmy and earning the admiration of fans and peers alike. Thank you for honoring him with your words, your memories, and your love. Your support means more to us than you can possibly imagine during this time of grief and remembrance. Tristan's spark will continue to shine in our hearts, and he will live on through the legacy he leaves behind.
3.
As many of you may have heard, the groundbreaking and steadfast Sidney Poitier has passed away at the age of 95. The Prime Minister of the Bahamas confirmed that he died on January 6, 2022. While no cause was officially disclosed, his passing was met with a wave of reverence and reflection across the globe. Sidney first captured hearts on stage and then on screen, where his poised presence and quiet intensity challenged a deeply divided world. In 1964, he became the first Black man to win the Academy Award for Best Actor for his moving performance in Lilies of the Field. That moment broke a barrier and opened a door for generations to come. He went on to star in Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, In the Heat of the Night, and to Sir with Love, each a masterclass in grace under pressure. But his path was never easy. Raised in poverty on a farm in the Bahamas, he overcame illiteracy, prejudice, and rejection with quiet resolve. He refused to play stereotypes, choosing instead roles that uplifted and dignified. He later became a diplomat, director, and Presidential Medal of Freedom honoree. Thank you for honoring him with your words, your memories, and your love. Your support means more to us than we can possibly express during this time of sorrow and remembrance. Sidney's light, quiet, resolute, and radiant will continue to shine in our hearts, and he will live on through the legacy of dignity, courage, and inspiration he leaves behind. As many of you may have heard, the fiery and unforgettable James Caan has passed away at the age of 82. His family confirmed that he died on the evening of July 6th, surrounded by love. While no cause of death was publicly shared, the family expressed deep gratitude for the outpouring of support and asked for privacy during this time. James first captured hearts in the 1970 television film Brian's Song, where his portrayal of NFL player Brian Piccolo earned him an Emmy nomination and national recognition. But it was his explosive performance as Sonny Corleone in The Godfather, 1972, that immortalized him in cinematic history. For that role, he received an Academy Award nomination and became part of a legendary ensemble that included Marlon Brando and Al Pacino. But his path was never easy. After early fame, James faced personal struggles and professional setbacks that led to a period of retreat from Hollywood. Yet he returned with renewed depth in films like Misery and Thief, embracing complex characters with grit and grace. Thank you for honoring him with your words, your memories, and your love. Your support means more to us than you can possibly imagine during this time of grief and remembrance. James's spark will continue to shine in our hearts, and he will live on through the legacy he leaves behind. As many of you may have heard, the introspective and commanding William Hurt has passed away at the age of 71. His son confirmed that he died peacefully on March 13, 2022, just 1 week shy of his 72nd birthday, surrounded by loved ones. William had been living with terminal prostate cancer, which he first publicly disclosed in 2018. William first captured hearts in the 1980s with a trio of unforgettable performances. He won the Academy Award for Best Actor for Kiss of the Spider-Woman and received back-to-back nominations for Children of a Lesser God and Broadcast News. In 2005, he earned a fourth Oscar nomination for A History of Violence. In his later years, he reached new audiences as General Thaddeus Ross in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But his path was never easy. A Juilliard-trained actor, William gravitated toward complex, conflicted roles that reflected his thoughtful spirit. He remained a quiet force in cinema, selective, principled, and deeply committed to his craft. Thank you for honoring him with your words, your memories, and your love. Your support means more to us than you can possibly imagine during this time of grief and remembrance. William's spark will continue to shine in our hearts, and he will live on through the legacy he leaves behind. As many of you may have heard, the intense and unforgettable Ray Liotta has passed away at the age of 67. He died peacefully in his sleep on May 26, 2022, while filming a new project, Dangerous Waters, in the Dominican Republic. He was with his fiancée, J.C. Nichelle. The cause of death was not officially disclosed, though friends had noted recent signs of declining health. Ray first captured hearts with his breakout role in Something Wild, 1986. But it was his portrayal of Henry Hill in Martin Scorsese's Goodfellas, 1990, that defined his career. His raw performance turned the gangster genre on its head and became a touchstone of modern cinema. He went on to star in Field of Dreams, Copland, and many more, always bringing depth to the screen. But his path was never easy. Adopted as an infant, Ray struggled for years with questions of identity and abandonment. Yet, he faced his demons with candor, channeling them into his work. He remained humble, once saying, "If you have one movie people remember, that's a gift. If you have two, that's a miracle." Thank you for honoring him with your words, your memories, and your love. Your support means more to us than you can possibly imagine during this time of grief and remembrance. Ray's spark will continue to shine in our hearts, and he will live on through the legacy he leaves behind.
Seven.
As many of you may have heard, the pioneering and radiant Nichelle Nichols has passed away at the age of 89. Her son confirmed that she died peacefully of natural causes on July 30th, 2022 in Silver City, New Mexico, surrounded by loved ones. She had been living quietly in recent years, far from the spotlight, yet never far from our hearts. Nichelle first captured the world's attention as Lieutenant Uhura on Star Trek, breaking barriers as one of the first black women in a powerful role on American television. Her presence inspired generations, so much so that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. personally urged her to stay in the role, calling her character an equal role. She later reprised Uhura in 6 films and countless other projects, making her one of the franchise's most enduring figures. But her path was never easy. A trained dancer and jazz singer, Nichelle faced racism and rejection long before she became a cultural icon. Off-screen, she worked with NASA to recruit women and minorities into space programs, helping shape the future in real life. Thank you for honoring her with your words, your memories, and your love. Your support means more to us than you can possibly imagine during this time of grief and remembrance. Nichelle's spark will continue to shine in our hearts, and she will live on through the legacy she leaves behind.
Eight.
Now it's quiet again. The final silence of Clint Eastwood. For over 7 decades, Clint Eastwood stood like an unshakable monument in the shifting sands of Hollywood. Stoic, silent, and unwavering, he redefined masculinity and justice, not through noise, but through stillness. From dusty western plains to haunted city streets, his presence never needed volume. It only needed gravity. But now, at 95, the man who outlasted eras and outlived legends faces something no camera can capture: a silence too deep for dialogue. And in that silence we remember not just the icon, but the man. He was born in San Francisco in 1930, a child of the Great Depression, a time when homes vanished and jobs disappeared without warning. Clint's early years were marked not by stability, but by motion. His family moved constantly, chasing opportunity but finding mostly uncertainty. By age 10, he had lived in more than a dozen towns, each one a fleeting glimpse of what home could have been. He slept in cold motel beds, changed schools mid-year, and learned early that permanence was a luxury. Teachers called him a troublemaker, but in truth, he was a boy quietly learning how to endure. When he discovered music, something clicked. He taught himself piano at 12, fingers bleeding from long hours of relentless practice. The piano was more than an instrument. It was his first sanctuary, a place where noise gave way to feeling, a place where he didn't have to explain the silence inside him. In 1951, that silence nearly became permanent. At just 21, Eastwood was aboard a military plane that lost power and crashed into the ocean off the coast of Point Reyes. He swam for miles in freezing water, waves crashing over his head, muscles trembling, vision blurred. But he survived, and in that survival, something shifted. He later said, "I realized how fast life could be taken away. I didn't want to waste a minute after that." That brush with death became a quiet motor that drove him through every rejection, every long night, every role no one else believed in. Hollywood didn't welcome him with open arms. He was too stiff, too quiet, not the charming type studios knew how to market. He spent years in the shadows of casting calls, showing up but never quite fitting in. But he watched, he learned, he waited. And when the moment finally arrived, first with Rawhide, then with the Dollars trilogy, he didn't explode, he endured. His face became legend, not because he spoke, but because he didn't need to. As the nameless cowboy in a fistful of dollars, for a few dollars more, and The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, Clint Eastwood captured the world's imagination with a squint, a pause, and a presence that said more than dialogue ever could. Then came Dirty Harry, a man with a badge and his own moral code. And Clint became more than a star. He became a myth. But even myths need to reclaim their voice. By the early 1970s, Clint had grown tired of playing characters shaped by others. He stepped behind the camera to direct Play Misty for Me, a raw and disturbing story that mirrored some of his own emotional turmoil. It was not a safe debut. It was a declaration. He would no longer be told how to feel. That declaration found its greatest expression in Unforgiven. A Western stripped of glory, where violence left only regret. A man who had once killed now wished only for peace. The film won Best Picture and Best Director. But more importantly, it gave Clint Eastwood something he had long deserved: the ability to speak his truth, not through words, but through story. $1 Million Baby deepened that truth. As Frankie Dunn, he whispered a lifetime of guilt through broken prayers and quiet gestures. And in Gran Torino, he played Walt Kowalski, a grizzled man who finds redemption not in revenge, but in sacrifice. These characters were not performances, they were reflections. Behind the lens, Clint became a storyteller of sorrow. A man who understood the weight of silence because he had carried it all his life. But even the strongest men are not immune to heartbreak. He married Maggie Johnson in 1953, a woman who believed in him long before the world knew his name. But success, as it often does, created distance. While Maggie raised their children, Clint drifted into late-night shoots and even later phone calls. Affairs followed. Some became public. Some remained whispers. And eventually, the marriage that once anchored him slipped away. Then came Sandra Locke. Their love began with fire, but ended in court. She accused him of control, of betrayal, of sabotage. He said little. When she died in 2018, he said nothing. But those who knew him said a part of him changed. There are ghosts Clint lives with now. Sandra is one of them. In his later years, he found rare stillness with Christina Sandera. She was not from Hollywood. She didn't seek red carpets. She simply brought warmth. For almost a decade, she was his peace. But on July 18th, 2024, she passed away, suddenly. Clint's response was a single line. She was a lovely, caring woman, and I will miss her very much. He has not spoken of her since. But neighbors noticed the drawn blinds, the untouched piano, the long walks alone. His children, at least 8, with 6 different women, remain scattered. Some knew him closely. Others only discovered him later in life. To the world, Clint was a father figure of strength. To some of his own, he was a mystery. They don't speak in anger. They speak with the ache of distance. Now, Clint Eastwood spends his days at Mission Ranch, a coastal retreat he once restored with pride. He walks its gardens. He sits by the window where Christina once read. He watches the ocean like a man waiting for something to return. Perhaps it's peace, perhaps it's memory, or perhaps it's just time. His legacy is not just cinema. It is resilience. The ability to keep standing when everything else falls. The courage to speak without words. The grace to endure without applause. Clint Eastwood was never perfect. He made mistakes. He hurt those he loved. He lived with silence where he should have spoken. But in that silence, he showed us something rare: authenticity. In a world of pretense, he remained true. If his journey ever moved you, if his films ever echoed something unspoken in your own life, share your thoughts below. Because in remembering him, we remember that even legends feel lonely, even icons carry regret, and even the strongest among us sometimes whisper, "Now it's quiet again."